This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
Welcome back to the Alice Stewart Show, 7:34, coming up right now on 25 minutes before 8 o'clock on what is turning out to be a beautiful Wednesday morning. We're going to talk politics. 76 days until midterm elections on the big countdown to Election Day. And what does this mean for the candidates, for the campaigns? We're going to talk about poll numbers and financing and the last-minute push coming up shortly. But right now we're going to talk about the current state of politics here. I'm joined with Michael Cook. He is with Talk Business Arkansas and the Cook's Outlook. Michael, great to have you here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And you're pretty keen and have a good eye on what's going on in politics in the state. And you've written an article that a lot of folks has a lot of people's attention because talks about maybe abolishing an office or two. Right. Encourage folks to go to talkbusiness.net. And there's been a proposal. Senators Keith Ingram and Jimmy Hickey have come up with a proposal. It's a constitutional amendment that would abolish the lieutenant governor's office. Right. And you say there's some flaws with the idea. Yes,
Senators Ingram and Hickey have what they call a bipartisan proposal to eliminate the office of lieutenant governor and put the next person in line of succession would be the attorney general. And I think there are some major problems with that proposal. First, overall, just in terms of big picture, I think Arkansans should have the right to vote for who the next governor is in case the governor leaves through impeachment or resignation or heaven forbid, death. So I think we should have that right to vote for whoever is next in line. I think the flaw in this argument of eliminating the lieutenant governor's office and putting the attorney general next in line is what that means is that the only type of person who can succeed the governor is a lawyer. Because to be attorney general, you have to be an attorney. So that right there, you cut out a gigantic swath of people that could not succeed the governor. And I also think from how it's perceived, it's basically saying, what, are us non-lawyers not smart enough to succeed the governor? I mean, how come,
Right.
But then also on top of that, what if a future attorney general writes a legal opinion that could lead to the impeachment of a future governor, and then that attorney general just happens to be next in line? But I do think something needs to be done about the lieutenant governor's office. I was the chief of staff for Lieutenant Governor Bill Halter for almost 4 years, so I know the ins and outs of the office.
Well, on that note, okay, we'll on the ins and outs of the office. Continue that thought, but just so folks will understand the duties of lieutenant governor under the Constitution: presiding over the Senate with a tie-breaking vote, serve as governor when the governor is out of state,
correct,
and serve as governor if the governor is impeached, removed from office, dies, or is unable to discharge the duty. So technically, I mean, it's a part-time job.
I used to joke a fourth unwritten rule is to call the governor every day and ask him how he's feeling, just to make sure is everything all right?
Yeah.
But technically those are the actual formal duties. The thing about the lieutenant governor's office is that all the lieutenant governors who have been there in the past 20 years have always, obviously it's limited duties,
right?
But they've taken it and done something with it.
Right.
Bill Halter was the pushed for the scholarship lottery program. Mark Darr, although he had to leave the office in disgrace, he did, to his credit, push for the checkbook.
Transparency.
Open
checkbook.
Open checkbook. Lieutenant Governor Rockefeller, economic development was his big issue. So a lot can be done with the office.
And with you in serving as chief of staff for Lieutenant Governor Halter, were you sitting there at your desk when you would work and say, this office should be abolished? I mean, did you see that, hey, maybe that this could be possibly merged with another office?
Well, one, we worked on the scholarship lottery for 2 years, so we were always, or 2 or 3 years, so we were always busy.
Right.
But I always thought that the office should be merged with another constitutional office to give, a lot of states, there are lieutenant governors, but the lieutenant governors have a more broader job or job duties. And what I wrote in my article on talkbusiness.net, pardon me, is that I believe the lieutenant governor and the secretary of state's office should be combined. You still call them the lieutenant governor, so folks are clear that this person is next in line, but that they can do the duties of the Secretary of State, oversee the elections, oversee the state capitol building, oversee any kind of corporate filings, so on and so forth. It's just a simple matter of passing, I believe, a constitutional amendment, and that way you have a lieutenant governor who has a specific job. You save taxpayers $400,000 in salaries and office upkeep, and then you still have a chance to vote on who would succeed the governor in case something happened to the incumbent.
And I think to your point, that way it would allow voters to actually vote on who they know would succeed to be the next governor if that
Correct.
were to be the case.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, though. Your suggestion would be to eliminate the Secretary of State's office and transfer that to Lieutenant Governor.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's others who might suggest eliminate Lieutenant Governor and transfer that to Secretary of State. Are you hearing folks talking about that? I mean, there has been talk for years about eliminating one or the other.
Right. Right now everybody's talking about campaigns.
Not eliminating any office.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if I'm running for it.
Both the gentlemen who are running for Lieutenant Governor, John Burkhalter and Tim Griffin, are adamantly opposed to this. But look, if you called it the Secretary of State and just got rid of the Lieutenant Governor's office, but then made the Secretary of State next in line, they are in essence the Lieutenant Governor. It's just, I guess, at a certain point, then it becomes, the semantics of, are you the Secretary of State who's next in line, or are you the Lieutenant Governor who happens to be Secretary of State? I think regardless, you still have voters still have a chance to say who we want to succeed the governor in case something happens, and then you still save money.
And so what do you think the likelihood of either one of these happening, eliminating Secretary of State or Lieutenant Governor?
Well, I think, first of all, I think the Hickey-Ingram proposal is pretty much dead on arrival. I've talked to some state legislators who, because of the fact that it, in its current form, requires it to be an attorney general, it's too specific in saying only an attorney can succeed the governor. That makes it a non-starter. I think people are open to talking about it, but the bottom line is right now there's literally nobody in that office. But whoever becomes the lieutenant governor, whether Burkhalter or Tim Griffin, they're going to have allies in the legislature who want to make sure that these gentlemen have a job in 4 years if they want to run for it. So I think that probably, maybe an argument could be made that maybe they decide to merge some offices, but I think lieutenant governor is going to stay in some form or fashion, but it won't be the next attorney general.
All right, we'll see. It's always interesting to see the folks there at the Capitol trying to move the chess pieces around.
Well, and also the other one last thing is that the legislature only has 3 amendments that they can put on the ballot every year, and the question is this one important enough to be one of the 3? There's always a big debate of which 3 it's going to be, and there's another question: will this be the ones that can make it?
All right, we'll see. We're going to take a break. I'm joined here with Michael Cook, Talk Business Arkansas, and Cook's Outlook. You can see all of his work at talkbusiness.net. We'll take a break and look at the state of play in politics with 76 days to go until the midterm elections. Michael Cook joins us after this break. The segment of the Alice Stewart Show, brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing, 1-866-PLUMBER, or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.